Join me as I dive into the drama and confront Brian Carn at 54. Let's see what really goes down. The church world was shaken to its core when Jamal Bryant confronted Brian Carn at 54. This wasn't just a casual meetup, it was years of tension boiling over. What led to this explosive moment? People thought they had heard every controversial sermon imaginable, until Brian K. stood on that stage, looked straight into the crowd and declared that broke people cannot represent God. In that instant, the entire room froze. Phones came out, clips started circulating online, and within hours the internet erupted. But the reason behind his statement, the real motivation, the hidden context, and the fallout that followed, that's the part no one is talking about. And it's far more explosive than the quote itself. Brian K. has always been known for preaching with boldness, but this latest statement shook even his most loyal followers. Saying that broke people cannot represent God wasn't just controversial, it sparked outrage, confusion, and endless debates across social media. Some called it harsh, others called it truth, and for those who know the story behind the pulpit, there's a shocking, rarely told side to this moment that most people completely missed. In this video, we'll dive deep into Brian K.'s controversial remarks, explore the context behind his statement, and uncover insider details that no one has reported before. You'll hear about the events leading up to this sermon, the reactions from both the congregation and the wider faith community, and why this statement might reveal a much bigger truth about how he views ministry, wealth, and influence in the church. You won't believe what happened next because the aftermath went far beyond viral clips and heated comments, and this is where it gets unbelievable. What he really meant and how it affected his ministry and reputation is something very few people expected. By the end of this video, you'll have the full story, the context, and the truth that most people missed. Before Brian K. became known for his controversial remarks, he was building a reputation as one of the most influential voices in modern ministry. Many remember him from his days as a young, ambitious preacher, traveling across cities with sermons that drew both awe and controversy. He was magnetic, passionate, and fearless, a preacher who didn't shy away from calling out what he believed was the uncomfortable truth. But his rise wasn't overnight. It was a journey marked by relentless dedication, personal struggles, and the kind of sacrifices few outside the ministry could truly understand. He started with small congregations, long nights of preparation, and a vision that went far beyond conventional preaching. People say that even in those early days, he had a message that made listeners uncomfortable, forcing them to confront their own complacency. It was during these years that Ka developed his philosophy that ministry, influence, and faith are deeply intertwined with personal responsibility, ambition, and yes, even financial stewardship. According to insiders, he believed early on that spiritual authority and worldly preparation go hand in hand, and that those who don't take their personal growth seriously may struggle to represent God effectively. By the time he became a household name in gospel and charismatic circles, Brian K. had already cultivated a reputation for delivering sermons that sparked debate. While some admired his honesty and directness, others felt his approach was too blunt, even divisive. And it was this reputation that made his broke people cannot represent God's sermon hit like a lightning bolt. But what most people don't realize is that this statement wasn't made in isolation. It was the culmination of decades of experiences, frustrations, and observations he had witnessed in both his personal and ministry life. It's a context that few reports ever mention, a context that will change the way you interpret his words entirely. And yet, even as he built influence and drew attention, there were critics watching closely. Some questioned his wealth, his decisions, and even his intentions. Others wondered if his statements were a form of accountability or a reflection of deeper personal beliefs. But what happened next during the sermon that shocked the world was a moment that pushed reactions to a level few could have anticipated. The controversy that followed didn't just challenge his public image. It forced Ka to explain, defend, and sometimes clarify what he really meant. And the reasoning behind that statement, the motivation that few understood, is where the real story begins. At the heart of their issues are deep-seated disagreements on ministry and personal conduct. Brian Carn's actions and decisions have long been scrutinized by many in the church community, and Jamal Bryant hasn't shied away from expressing his disapproval. Their relationship has been strained for quite some time. Jamal Bryant's own reputation as a pastor and community leader has been built on strong convictions and a willingness to speak truth to power. His confrontation with Brian Carn was seen by many as a courageous stand. Meanwhile, Brian Carn has built a significant following through his ministry and outreach efforts. Brian Carn's supporters argue that he's done immense good, while his critics point to controversies that have dogged him for years. The dynamic between these two powerful figures is complex, with roots in their personal histories and public actions. Their confrontation wasn't just about airing grievances, it was about fundamentally different approaches to faith and leadership. The actual confrontation was intense. Words were exchanged, and it was clear that neither side was backing down. This wasn't just a heated argument, it was a clash of ideologies. The tension was palpable. The confrontation between Jamal Bryant and Brian Carn at 54 has left many in the church community talking. What does this mean for their ministries and their followers moving forward? One thing's for sure, this isn't the end of the story. So, what do you think about this confrontation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're interested in more videos like this, be sure to check out my other content. Thanks for the watching and subscribe.